Hi, I'm Al Mancini with Food Inquirer. You know, if there's one thing that the decade I've spent writing about fine dining and other types of food here in Las Vegas has proven, it's that there isn't just one kind of foodie out there. Let's face it, we all eat, most of us drink, or a lot of us drink, I should say, and we all learn from each other. It doesn't matter whether I'm in the fine dining world or whether I'm in a punk rock underground club. People love food, and people all have something they can learn from each other. I'm going to show you that today by showing some very, very similar cocktails, savory cocktails in fact, that come from very different worlds but cross over. We're going to start off here at Andre's in the Monte Carlo with a very good friend of mine, Chef Gary Lamorte. So let's come back to the kitchen where Gary should be hanging out. Hey Gary, how are you, man?
How are you?
Good to see you. Brought some friends along. I wanted to talk to them a bit about your food. I have to tell you guys, Gary is one of my favorite chefs here in Las Vegas because he does some of the most creative things with luxury ingredients that you'll ever come across. He once did 8 courses of caviar for me. Another time he did 12 different courses of foie gras. And that's what we're here to talk about, is foie gras, because very few people make cocktails with foie gras. One of the most interesting savory cocktails here in Las Vegas is your foie gras martini. What I think is cool about it, though, is it doesn't come from this luxury restaurant. The foie gras martini comes from this luxury restaurant, and you're a brilliant mind, but the inspiration comes from someplace that's more my kind of dive bar. Just give everybody a quick little info on that.
It was inspired by a customer looking for a bacon martini from the Double Down, which is one of our favorite local bars.
I have to tell you guys, the Double Down Saloon is as punk rock as it gets here in Las Vegas. I can't believe that somebody other than myself who hangs out in the Double Down Saloon would come here and request something, but you know, that just proves my point. Foodies are everywhere, and you did something incredible with that. You came up with this foie gras martini. I've got a treat for you though. I'm going to take you to the Double Down today. I'm going to introduce you to the man who invented the bacon martini. I'm going to let you make your foie gras martini for him. I'm going to let him make his bacon martini for you. And I'm not saying it's a competition, but I'll be tasting them both. So I know you got a little work you have to do in the kitchen here, though, before you can actually take your ingredients over to the Double Down, right?
Yes, sir.
Their kitchen is not exactly up to this level here. So let's let you get started and tell me what you're doing, tell my friends what you're doing while you make this thing, and then we'll pack it up and we'll hit the Double Down.
Let's do it.
Okay, sounds good. Oh, and you've already got some luscious foie gras sitting out here for us.
Yes, sir.
Foie gras, for people who don't know, is an overly fattened goose or duck liver. We pretty much use ducks here in America. A lot of people complain they think it's a little cruel. There was a time when all foie gras production was cruel. They would force feed the ducks. These days they've come up with much, much more humane ways to do it here, especially in the United States. So if you're going to eat foie gras and you are worried about the cruelty factor, I highly recommend you stick with stuff that was raised here in the U.S. Gary's actually seen some of those ducks raised, and they live pretty decent lives, right?
Correct. It's referred to slow feeding now. It's a gradual increase in food intake. It's very comfortable for the ducks. And happy ducks make happy livers, so they found the direct correlation.
And happy livers make happy martinis. So why don't you mix this up? I'm going to get a little bit out of your way. If you could just explain to me what you're doing while we do this.
So with the foie gras martini, we try to encompass the positive qualities of hot seared foie gras and chilled foie gras terrine. So we start by actually searing the foie gras, and to that end, we're attempting to develop the nutty, caramelized flavors.
Now, how hot is that pan right there?
Probably about 400 degrees.
Okay.
The range itself is around 7 or 8. I don't actually, normally I sear it harder for like a standard hot service, but for this we actually start out a little slower because we're trying to actually fully cook. I prefer to use very small pieces. It has a higher surface area, more caramelization ratio for like weight of the foie gras.
And about how long does this take overall, this caramelizing?
5 to 6 minutes, depending on how hot the pan is.
Okay. Now you're just pouring off some of the fat there?
Yes, sir. We actually, we don't want it to fry in its own fat. Okay. So we render and reserve the fat, and it actually all gets incorporated back into the beverage.
Okay.
So you don't actually lose anything throughout the process. So next we're going to add in, we had Tahitian vanilla beans. We add them in 2 stages. First the pods, wildflower honey.
So again, there's more of that sweetness. You have the vanilla, you have the honey. You've got this beautiful flower just rendering down.
And of course, it's not a martini without a little vodka. I want to step back a little bit.
Okay. Oh, there we go.
Second addition, we add brandy for flavor layering. It's also much more complementary richness for the foie gras itself.
There's a reason you flambe the vodka and not the brandy?
Higher proof. I also think that when we're using higher end alcohols, it's important to try to maintain the flavor. Vodka doesn't have flavor.
Right.
Primarily aroma, if any, whatsoever. Whereas brandy has the oaks and the vanillins and more volatile characteristics. The warm version. Go actually in right there, so you get the more of the alcohol versus the fat on top.
Oh, this is good already. Seriously, this is...
We've pondered serving it warm because it's very, very intoxicating.
Yeah.
And at multiple levels, literally and figuratively. The interesting thing about this beverage versus something like the bacon martini, and I've had a few savory, meat-orientated, they do what they call a fat wash, where they mix the rendered fat with the vodka, and then they let it sit, and they freeze it and strain it out, so all the fat gets removed in that process. So they're infusing the flavor, but then removing all of the byproduct of the animal.
You're not doing that. You're keeping the fat. We need the fat here.
We keep the fat, we keep the foie gras, we keep it all in there.
Well, we'll find out what Moss does with his fat in just a little while.
So having a high velocity blender is very important for the proper emulsification.
Okay.
Because as said before, this is a emulsification.
Now explain exactly what that word means to people who don't understand what an emulsification is.
Emulsifications are mixtures of water and fats in varying ratios. The simplest ones being a vinaigrette, some of which are intended to separate over time, and then there's also what's referred to as permanent emulsifications. The interesting part of the process here now is that we actually use the fat in the foie gras.
Okay. So you're putting all of its fat and everything right back in with it.
This is the alcohol.
Okay.
The alcohol first. What we do is the fat itself is solid at room temperature, so we actually use the fat as an emulsifier for the beverage.
Okay. And then you throw in the ice.
The ice drops the temperature of the beverage down quickly. Okay? And now it's going to allow us to emulsify the warm fat in with the cold beverage, and it'll stay.
Now, when people order this, do you do this entire process to order, or do you do a few of these up in advance?
It very much depends on the night. Okay. When at all possible, I would always like to make everything fresh to order. We have very small kitchen staffs, so obviously on bigger nights we'll get some ready at the beginning of service, so it's ready when we need it.
Okay, so where we are now, are we ready that we can pack up and go see Moss? Or
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's go, everybody. We're going to go hit the Double Down Saloon. A very, very different atmosphere than here at Andre's, I got to tell you. Okay, here we are at the world-famous Double Down Saloon. I brought Gary here to introduce him to P. Moss. Moss here is the owner of the Double Down, Frankie's Tiki Room. He owns a Double Down in New York City. Wrote the book Blue Vegas. Basically, if it is something punk rock, Moss has something to do with it, especially here in Vegas. Moss, this is Gary Lamorte of
Thanks for having me.
Andre's. Wanted to introduce you guys because Gary is going to make, I wanted him to make for you his world-famous Foie Gras Martini, but he started to tell me a story a little bit earlier about the fact that his Foie Gras Martini, sold at one of the best restaurants in Vegas, is actually inspired by your bacon martini. So could you just give him a brief version of how that happened?
We had a young lady doing a foie gras tour of Las Vegas, and so she had called us in advance, and we had dialed her menu in, and so she had been reading up on cool things in Vegas, and while she was dining, she asked our beverage director if she could have a bacon martini. And we're doing a foie gras dinner for her, so our beverage manager, Patrick, great sense of humor, turns and looks at her and goes, well, bacon's not really our thing, but maybe foie gras. And then he laughs. And she looks at him dead serious and goes, you can make a foie gras martini? So he runs back to the kitchen, asked if we could do a foie gras martini, and 12 minutes later we had number one.
Love it.
And now, the bacon martini, a lot of people have claimed to have invented it, but you are the man behind the bacon martini.
I am indeed.
Tell the story. When did you come up with it? How did you come up with it? Why did you come up with it?
Well, I came up with it a long time ago, in the 80s. It was popular in a lot of high-end restaurant bars to have the large container full of fruit, and vodka. So they would be infusing, say, raspberries or pineapples, and they go, oh, that's nice, but what else could you do with that? And I thought bacon was a great idea.
Everybody loves bacon, right?
But I didn't have a bar then. So I filed that idea away, and we've been open a little while here, and the staff said, we need a bacon drink. I go, I just happen to have one. So we made it, it caught fire, and the rest is history.
And what was the process? I mean, just throw a bunch of raw bacon, cooked bacon,
No,
do you render it?
No, it's cooked bacon. It's very simple. Take 3 strips of cooked bacon and massage them gently into a bottle of vodka, and you let it sit for 24 hours, and it's ready to go. The key is we use a very strong hickory smoked bacon that we get from a place in Kentucky for just the specific reason that it is so pungent and flavorful. That's where it gets the flavor, but it's as simple as that. It's bacon-infused vodka.
Okay, well, what I want to do for everybody out there and for you two, so since you've just met today, is have Gary, he started it up already over at Andre's. He's going to finish off his foie gras martini and let you have a try. And, of course, if you can mix up a couple bacon martinis, Gary and I want to give him a shot.
Be my double down pleasure.
Okay, I'm going to let you gentlemen have the bar.
Cool.
So primarily people come to enjoy the foie gras martini at our bar, and so we find it nice to give them a little snack to have while they're enjoying the martini itself. It'll change seasonally and depending on what's happening in the kitchen. Today we brought some candied nuts, baked apple tart tatin, a couple chocolate maynardise, and some macerated fresh berries. And the martini itself is made from roasted foie gras, Tahitian vanilla beans, wildflower honey, of course vodka, a splash of brandy, and when possible in season we really enjoy garnishing it with a little fresh truffle, and fortunately we're right in the last week of truffle season, so we got a little Perigord truffle for you to try, hand shaved. Enjoy.
That is delicious.
We've had the truffle martini. What do you think, Moss?
I think it's great.
Okay, I'm going to have that. I'm going to have one of those before we leave. But I need to compare it, so we need the bacon martini. Can you do that for us?
I think I can do that for you.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's do it. Maybe, maybe not. Where my shit at?
Right there. Bam.
Glasses? Ah,
Right
see.
there.
All right. This is very, very simple. This is a thing of beauty. Bacon-infused vodka. It's the most wonderful thing on the face of the earth. This is beautiful.
Not quite taking as much time as Gary's drink took, but...
Well, we did all the prep work beforehand. As you can see, that came out just right. So I'd like to offer you the world-famous bacon martini. Enjoy. Wow. That took some nerve. Very good. As they say, swine is fine.
So guys, here we go. We got a bacon martini. We got a foie gras martini. I'm going to have a sip of each, but I'm going to start with the bacon here.
Porktastic.
Smoky-licious. Thank you much,
Hell yeah.
Moss. And by way of comparison, could you pass me the foie gras martini that's sitting over there? I should be judging this, right? All I can say is, you start off at Gary's place, you have one of these, some of that food down there, and then you come here to Moss's place, and you drink so many bacon martinis that you probably won't remember what you had at Gary's place, but it's going to be one hell of a trip to Vegas. Cheers, everybody.